Hello, welcome to our project for this year. All right, so your project, you're going to present your responses in a PowerPoint. I don't care if that's the Google version, the Microsoft version. I don't even care truly if it's a PowerPoint. I guess a person could use a PDF as long as I can thumb through it and it's shown to me more or less in a presentation format. I like the idea of a PowerPoint where, okay, this is your first slide, that's your first thought, etc., etc., etc. I'm not real picky on that in terms of it. I don't care if you want to use the Google version or not. That's kind of how I want it laid out. So, number one, I want you to find a map of data. Any will do. And I want you to talk about why it's important to you. Okay? Why did the person who made the map decide to share it with others? How could you have made it better? It'd be nice if it was an interactive map. It doesn't have to be. And then, why are maps a great way to demonstrate data? As a person who cares about stats, why do I care about folks that in different places will experience different things, have different opinions on things, etc.? So I have a couple of examples here. So I giggled Portland arrest by neighborhood map. Now this is an example, for gosh sakes, don't steal mine. Okay. And I clicked on this one and then this still popped up. Well, that's kind of cool, Jay. Whoa, it's interactive and stuff. It is. It totally is. And you can actually load the interactive one. There it is. And then what you can do is you can then, of course, scroll out. And you're like, whoa, that's cute. Well, look at this. Overall crime in Portland. It's like redder and stuff. It's less green because green is bad. You put on just property crime, and you notice that most things didn't change. However, you'll notice that if you drag, oh, for goodness sakes, piece of crap. If you drag it up here a ways on property crime, you'll notice that property crime is kind of heavy out in some places. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. If there's some anomaly like that, I'd like you to like make mention of that. Why in the devil is there such a huge crime? The only crime that happens out here is some meth heads, right? That's literally what happens out here. There's nobody out here. There's some meth heads that are stealing converters. They're doing whatever. There's not a whole lot of crime. Right? I would say most of it is overall is property crime, and that should be evident when you change the filter to that. You come out here and look. Hey, look at that. There is no violent crime. The only real crime that you'll run into out there really is property crime and, of course, some drug offenses and stuff. But the idea is it's not huge. But as a percentage of crime, because there's very little crime out there, but per population, there's a lot. Okay, so there's not that much crime in terms of total arrests, things of this nature. But per the population, it's a ton in some of these places. Okay, because no one lives out there. Versus NoPo, and it doesn't really matter what kind of crime you pick on, it's still not great. So if that's something to you, like this is per 1,000 residents. You with me? So that's why that is so orange out here past Yamhill, because again, no one lives out there. Okay, and so yeah, look at this. There's like two people live here. There was like one crime there, and violent crime. Um, someone got in a bar fight or whatever it happens to be, and you're like, geez, it looks huge. Well, it looks huge because no one lives here. Right? That's a huge deal. So just kind of be aware of that. Apparently, even in Scappoose, there's a huge violent crime right there on the south end of town. Yeah, who knew? So just be aware of that. Overall, crime rates are very small. It's just kind of how it is. But again, why would I want to know this? Well, I don't know. You looking to build somewhere? You looking to move to Portland? If crime is something that really speaks to you or whatever, I want to live in a nice, secure neighborhood. I want my kids to be able to go out and play in the street. I want my kids to be able to do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? Like have the safe neighborhood. Well, I'm not moving to North Portland. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. Okay. Of course, that's why you could also be, if you were okay. Portland's kind of a bad example for this. I think a lot of big cities kind of are right now too. But like if you're looking at this, you're like, wow, we got a lot of crime up here. We should, I don't know, do something about it. Okay. Like don't let's let it keep happening. Let's see what we can do to break up the crime. I saw last night or a couple nights ago there was a report um, talking about these people who like, well, it used to be this nice neighborhood, but now there's this big homeless encampment, and some people are trying to make off with the young children and stuff. And yeah, that's not right. So we start talking about these things. That's why a person would have made this map, perhaps. That's why maybe this map is important. That's maybe why this is kind of a big deal. And maybe you're like, okay, well, then if you zoom out, you know, you notice the overall, uh, crime's pretty low. Geez, look at the crime up in the national forest, man. Again, no one lives here. There was 2 crimes. You know what I'm saying? It's not quite exactly what it's made out to be. And again, obviously, out in the sticks, you're going to see a lot of drug crime and property crime. Not a lot, but relative to the amount of people that are there. So, this would be a situation where, to me, that data might speak to me from a standpoint of I'm trying to, get the, police, the powers that be to take care of crime in the neighborhoods. Maybe I'm the governor. I want to kind of see what's going on around my state. There's a variety of reasons why this might come out, but why would that be important to you? Okay. And I don't want you to use that one, but obviously, something like, something else that stands out to you. All right, something that means something to you, something that speaks to you. Don't be afraid to use whatever speaks to you. Okay, I don't care. I don't want to be preachy. So anybody that, like, if you come at me with this whole, oh, your big thing happens to be this thing here, that's cool. You can think whatever you want to think about it. I want to know why you or someone else came with that map. Why is it important to you? Okay. That's all I want. I don't need a full on history lesson or civic or whatever your deal is. Just tell me why that's a big deal, why that's important to you. Okay. I would like to see something that you're kind of semi passionate about. To me, the idea that my children would not be safe in the neighborhood in which I live, or that, the wife, I'd be worried about her going for a walk or something. That I cannot abide. I will never live somewhere where that is not okay to happen. You know what I'm saying? I would never live there ever. Not going to happen. I would move to a place where I personally would feel comfortable. That is a big deal to me. Okay, and I'm passionate about that. Okay, um, that's just something that I prefer to be. Okay, but for you, it might be something about I don't know, availability of medical care or whatever it happens to be. A few years ago, um, well, it was back when the Affordable Care Act passed under Obama. Uh, the number of doctors who got out of the gynecology business, or doctors in small towns who were not true gynecologists, or I'm sorry, not gynecologists, obstetricians, baby delivering doctors. They were just doctors who would deliver babies. They quit doing it because there was something about that bill. And so what you ended up having was, yeah, there was more access to medical care, unless it was something like having a baby. And so it was a kind of an unintended result. And yet that's, again, something that, I want people to have access to medical care. It's not okay to have to go, 100 miles if you live in a town, let's say, like, down, down the way down the Willamette Valley somewhere, or maybe off the beaten path or something. It's possible you don't have a doctor in your town, but if you could go 20, 30 miles, you feel to find medical care, right? It doesn't have to be in your town. Like the town I grew up in, there was 1 or 2 doctors that practiced there, but maybe you drove to Walla Walla, it was 30 miles away or whatever. Well, that's fine. That's totally fine. But the idea that maybe you'd have to drive like 100 miles or whatever, well, that's unacceptable. And so maybe that's something that is important to you. Do we have medical coverage here? Whatever it happens to be. But I would like it to have something that matters to you. Okay. Again, you don't have to go off on a giant preachy tirade about why it's important, but I would like to be able to tell based on your answers that this is something that's important to you. Right. And maybe it's, I don't know. I would like you to be. I would like it to be something that means something to you. So I hesitate to give too many examples because I feel like a lot of people just go, "Oh, I'll use that one." Okay, I want something that's important to you. Okay. The next one, I want a statistic that speaks to you. Okay. So, and you're going to present it some data. You should include some graphs. You're trying to get flashy. You want me to get involved, care, to make a difference. You want me to get to whatever. But here's the most important thing. You'd like me to get involved by opening my wallet. Okay. And to do that, I'm going to have to be very impressed, sad, uh, gripped, whatever, right? So make sure the statistics, make sure that your graphs, your presentations stand out to me. Okay. So make sure that it's not some little, oh, isn't that exciting? Now, interestingly enough, I want both the data and the graph. Okay. And so I'd like to be able to see the data, I'd also like to be able to see your graph with it and go, oh yeah, that really speaks to me. Okay. Now, what I'd like to be able to do then is be able to look at your data and go, huh, are you trying to fool me with statistics? Oh, interesting. And just how are you doing that? Okay. So, for example, I went out and I giggled. This is an example. Perhaps you're into the food desert thing. Maybe that's something that bothers you. So this is the food desert map for for Chicago. So this is another map one that you could do, for instance. There's no data here. This is just high, low, whatever. You're like, what does that mean? Exactly. So I can't do this for this part, but if I had the data, then I could do this for this part. And I could say, well, this neighborhood right here, whatever that neighborhood is, this neighborhood is, it's a medium food desert. It's hard to find food in grocery stores there. But up here in these neighborhoods, they tend to be a little more affluent, whatever it happens to be. But what I did is I went in and I Googled welfare or poverty rates, Spokane, Washington. All right. Why? Because I felt like it, I guess. Here are some data. Now, here are some graphs. Now, you could include this graph. You didn't make this graph, but you could definitely include this graph. Obviously, this one's pointing out that wow, for a while there anyway, at least, Spokane was way above the national average, and now it still is, but way above. But here's some actual data, and of course, this is what they graphed the graph on. This I'm fine with you using, and matter of fact, I would like to actually see this kind of thing. What I don't really see up here is I don't see percentage. Do you? It's not clear that this is a percentage of poverty. So this graph, although it's based on this data, it'd be better for you to create your own data. Okay. Now, could you get the same data compared to other big cities, Portland, Seattle, etc.? Sure, sure. And you say, gee, Spokane sucks. I'm assuming that the reason you want to point this out is because you probably work for some outfit that's trying to get money to feed people or whatever, let's say in Spokane. And if that's the case, or maybe you're trying to, get the county commissioners to do something in Spokane County or whatever it happens to be, um, you know, obviously you have to sell it. And what are you going to do? Well, to get money, you're going to have to make it look worse. Like look as bad as possible, I shouldn't say, not make it look worse, but make it look as bad as possible because that's how you're going to get me off of the fence. Okay. Now it turns out you can actually drill down, and this particular one is broken out also by race. You're like, wow, interesting. So this was current, like in 2017. This data was okay. So you could go in there and you could talk about this. Now, in this case, obviously, you could look at it in terms of how would you present this data? Would you present it just like this? How would you think about this? And again, these are just examples. Obviously you're not going to use mine, but you're going to come up with your own. Okay. So, these situations here, oh, look, they used the donut chart. Again, a donut chart, I'm not a giant fan. This is one place where it's semi kind of cool in that here 19.5%. Oh, that's 19.5%, I guess. Cool. Yeah, it's less than a quarter. Sure. Of what? Of the males. Yeah, okay, great. It's a quick way to point it out, whatever it happens to be. Maybe you're into what percent of children are into the poverty rate and, and so on and so on and so on. Whatever it happens to be. Again, I want to see your data. Okay. I want to see your data and I want to see where you came up with it from. Perhaps this is important to you because, like, my brother lives in Medical Lake. 13% of them are in poverty in Medical Lake. It's clearly not the ritziest part of town, Liberty Lake, yeah, for sure. Out by Fairchild on the other side, that actually on the base, obviously, it's going to be hard to be in poverty, I would guess. And then other places like Cheney, that place has really gone to heck over the last bunch of years. 20 years ago, it wasn't that much. Anyway, and then you're like, oh, cool. Now, and then you can just bust it out. And again, now here are some other maps that a person could use. For instance, please don't use mine, do your own. But you could actually then go in and you could talk about, let's look at some poverty maps. Again, back to the first part of this thing. Again, I want to see, for the second one, I want to talk about data. So you're like, Jay, it looks like in like the current numbers, and maybe you could even more current than 2017, 18% of the population of people in Spokane are under the poverty rate or are poverty rate or below. That's just terrible. And then here's why. Okay. And then lay out the graphs and try to get me excited about this. Now, you might have to role play a little thing here. Okay. Um, and or you either assume that I am a donor to donate to your charity of things, or perhaps I am the county commissioner, or whatever it happens to be, where you're wanting to get me involved and excited. Again, it's totally up to you. I leave this quote. I was told some years ago by a education. I'm using air quotes right here. Professional. That Jay, your projects are quote open middled, and I went, huh? And they're like, yeah, like you give them free reign in the middle, and then they come back. So it's not truly open ended, Jay. It's open middled. And I went, uh huh. Okay, you might have had too much to drink. Okay, interesting. But whatever. I like it to be where it makes sense to you. Okay? So again, why is this statistic speaking to you? What can I do about it? You know, and then go from there. Again, somewhat open-ended, middled, whatever you want to talk about it. I would like to see several graphs on this guy, okay, of your homemade graphs. I do not want to be able to giggle a picture of the graph that you sent me and find the exact graph, okay? That would not be optimal for your grade. That makes sense? Because it will be a picture. I can go find it online. Yeah, that's not going to be good, okay? So I want to be able to see the data that you used to make it. So here's my data. Mm-hmm. And then here's my graph. Sweet. And then away you go from there. Now, cool. Now, I will say this for extra credit. It used to be there's this thing called Google Fusion Tables, which were the coolest freaking things ever. But some years ago, a couple years ago, they took it away. It's not free anymore. Okay, and so you have to basically nobody basically does it for free anymore. ArcGIS, you can create a free account in there, and you can make and share maps in there. If you wanted to do that, okay, then when you do that, you could go in and then you could create your own data. For instance, you can actually do um, like poverty rates by county. Yeah, let's do Wisconsin. Ohio. And you can get the data here. Boom. Okay. And then you can also find the shape files. What are called shape files? Shape files. Ohio counties. Yeah, counties. There you go. Cool. And you can actually download that shape files. And those are the kind of things that you're going to need in that ArcGIS thing. Again, that's extra credit. It's totally up to you if you do it or not. Fair warning, it is one of the more addictive things I've done back when Fusion Tables was a free and cool resource like that. It was one of the more addicting things I've ever done on a computer. Um, where it's like, dude, let's make another map. Let's just make another map. The only tricky thing ever in my mind was finding some of the shape files. So, for instance, shape files for Portland, Oregon neighborhoods. Those are sometimes a bear to find things like that. I know they're out there because other people have used them, but finding them is kind of a bear, like the Lentz neighborhood, etc., etc. But counties are well established. You can find those anywhere. Um, and so on. So, and state shape files, those are obviously there already. If that's something that speaks to you, by all means, do that and then send me the link to where I can click on it and look at your thing. Okay. Again, I like this to be, again, somewhat open ended. Okay. It's something a little bit different. And what I want you to understand or and take with you from this class is that, yeah, as um, we are going to be dealing with data. But again, why? To make decisions. That's what it's all about. Okay. And whether it's you making a decision like, hey, listen, something's wrong, the machinery is broken, whatever it happens to be, so shut it down and fix it or whatever. Or, um, you know, this program isn't working or it is working or whatever it happens to be. Or trying to convince people of what's going on. Those are the things that I really want to focus on, and I want you to take that away from this class. So again, this project's a little different in that it's not just, hey, let's do a bunch of hypothesis testing. Won't that be cool? Because the hypothesis testing is great. The problem is getting data that makes sense. Okay, and yeah, so have a little fun with it. Again, make sure that you're coming up with your own stuff, because I will be Googling to try to find any time you've stolen a graph. Okay. I wouldn't care if you said this is the graph that I saw some people created based on this. Here's what I would have done differently based on this data. I want to see the data that you're creating the graph from. Okay. And I should be able to find that data when I go and get it. Also, I'm going to add this right here as well. Add the link to where you got the info. And I'm going to also paste that right here as well so that I can go and I don't know what I was going to say, for instance, to here. Anyway, yeah, so there it is. So add the link to the data. I think the for instance I was going to show was the Spokane poverty rate one. So I think that was the one that I was getting at. I think I just forgot to put that part on there. Okay. Anyway, any questions, let me know. Glad to help. Oh, as always, I enjoy that aspect. So, all right. Bye-bye.